I walked into their house straight from a 12-hour HVAC shift, shirt still damp under the arms, boots tracking dust onto their tile. My back was killing me, and the only thing in my stomach was the gas station burrito I wolfed down between jobs. But Carrie insisted we show up. Her parents were throwing a dinner for her brother Kyle, celebrating his new management title at the dealership like he just became governor. Kyle sat at the head of the table like he belonged there, wearing some slick navy suit and sipping whiskey like he owned the place. I watched him toss back a laugh with his dad, like this was a country club dinner, not taco casserole and boxed wine in a McKinney kitchen. Meanwhile, I was still sweating through my work shirt, smelling like crawl space and copper pipe. Quick note, before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from? Every time Kyle opened his mouth, everyone leaned in like it was a TED Talk. They gave me a company card, he said, waving it like it was a medal. Fully loaded Camry, too. Not bad for 28, right? His mom grinned like her boy had just landed on the moon. Then, mid-bite into her third helping of mashed potatoes, my mother-in-law leaned over, tilted her wine glass, and said, loud enough for the whole table, "You'll never be like Kyle, Jake. He aimed higher." I froze, fork halfway to my mouth. Her words hung in the air like a fart in a church. Kyle kept sipping like it was nothing. Bob, my father-in-law, just nodded into his plate like she'd said something wise. I looked at Carrie. She didn't flinch, didn't blink, just stared down at her peas. I felt something twist in my chest. I'd just worked a 12-hour day to keep their lights on, and this was the thanks? I clenched my fork so tight the metal bit into my palm. Then I said it. "That's funny," I said, voice low but sharp, "considering I've been paying your mortgage for over a year." The room went dead silent. Bob froze mid-chew. Kyle's eyes finally left his glass. My mother-in-law's mouth dropped open like I'd slapped her. Carrie blinked, finally blinked, but still said nothing. I didn't leave right away. I pushed back from the table, stood up, and reached under my jacket. I'd brought the folder with me, just in case. Thick manila, rubber band holding it shut. I dropped it right in the center of their fancy oak dining table, right next to the gravy bowl, receipts, bank transfers, payment logs, all of it. "You said it was 1 month until Bob got that pension settled," I said, flipping it open. "That was 18 months ago." My mother-in-law blinked once, like a frog, then gave the kind of shrug you'd use if someone spilled water on your sock. "Family helps family," she said flatly. Kyle's career needed focus. I felt my jaw tighten. My ears were hot. Carrie stared at the papers like they were written in a foreign language. I flashed back hard. Kyle's graduation, 5 years ago. They surprised him with a truck parked in the driveway, big red bow and all. Told him it was an investment in his future. Me? I got a beer cozy that said, "World's okay as son-in-law," and a 10-minute talk from Bob about pulling myself up by my bootstraps. I flipped another page, mortgage transfers, their electric bill, internet, cable, HOA dues, all on my account. Carrie reached for her wine glass and missed it by an inch. "I've kept every record," I said. "Every single time you said it'd be just 1 more month. Every 'we'll pay you back next quarter.' Every lie." Bob finally looked up from his plate. "Jake, you're blowing this out of proportion." "Am I?" I said, turning the page to the auto insurance slips. "Because this says I've been carrying your policy since last spring." "All right," Bob muttered. "Let's all calm down." "No," I said, standing straight. "I'm not calming down. I'm done." Carrie still hadn't said a word. Kyle leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, like none of this had anything to do with him. Like I hadn't been the sucker funding his entire safety net. "I'm not your safety net anymore," I said, loud enough to make the silverware rattle. My mother-in-law gave a stiff little nod, like she'd been expecting this. Like she already had a new plan lined up. I looked at Carrie, one last time. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Her nails were digging into her napkin. I turned and walked toward the front door. Behind me, Bob's voice came sharp and full of heat. "You'll regret this, Jake. Family's all you got." I didn't turn around. I opened the door, walked out, and let it slam shut behind me. I spent the next week trying to keep my head down. Long shifts, cold showers, silence at home. Carrie barely talked. She moved around the house like a shadow, answering only when she had to. By Friday night, I'd almost convinced myself I could just let it all slide. Then my phone rang, her number. "Jake," my mother-in-law said, syrup sweet. I've got a pile of tax papers. Bob's useless with numbers. You're good with boring money stuff. Could you swing by tomorrow? The audacity made my stomach roll, but I went. I needed to see how deep this went. Saturday afternoon, I walked into their house. No dinner, no crowd, just her at the kitchen island with a neat stack of envelopes, receipts, and files. She smiled like nothing had happened. "It's all here," she said. "You're so organized. We're lucky to have you." I didn't answer. I took the stack and went to the little desk in the corner, the one under the framed picture of Kyle shaking hands with some dealership exec. Her taxes were a mess. Mixed envelopes, unmarked folders, a shoebox of receipts. I started sorting. W-2s, utility bills, random donation slips. Then one envelope stuck out. Heavy paper, window showing a balance line. It wasn't taxes, it was a student loan statement. $1,400 paid off. Name on the account, Kyle Thompson. Account number, at the bottom, mine. My hands went cold. I flipped through more envelopes. Another loan statement, car payments, credit card bills from steakhouse dinners, leather shoes, airline tickets, all linked to me, all of it. I shoved everything back in the folder and stood, my pulse hammered in my throat. "Care to explain this?" I said, holding up the student loan statement. She didn't even blink, just sighed like I'd asked about the weather. "Kyle's career image matters," she said. "He can't start his new role drowning in debt. We'll settle up when things stabilize." My voice cracked out sharper than I meant. "You stole from me." Her face hardened. "Family helps family, Jake. You've always understood that." "No," I said. "Family asks. Family doesn't siphon money out of my account for 2 damn years." I felt my chest tighten. The walls of that little kitchen felt like they were leaning in on me. The back door opened. Carrie walked in, carrying grocery bags. She stopped when she saw the papers spread out. "What's going on?" she asked, flat voice. "Ask your mom," I said, my voice shaking now. "Ask her about Kyle's loans, his car, his dinners, all paid for by me." Carrie's eyes darted to her mother. "She told me you offered, that you insisted actually," Carrie said quietly. My head snapped toward her. "I offered?" "That's what she said," Carrie muttered, setting the bags down slowly. "That you wanted to help Kyle get a head start." I barked out a laugh that felt more like a choke. "I've been played," I said. "Not once, for 2 straight years." My mother-in-law gave a little shrug, like I'd finally caught up to some unspoken deal. Carrie crossed her arms and looked down at the floor. I gathered up the papers, stuffed them back into the folder, and snapped it shut. "You two need to figure out what you really are," I said, "because right now, it's not family, it's theft." I walked out of that kitchen, folder under my arm, my heart slamming like a drum. I went straight from that kitchen to a coffee shop across town. Same one I'd met Clay at 100 times before. He was already there, leaning back in his chair, sipping something iced and over-sugared. I dropped the folder onto the table between us. His brow went up. "Go ahead," I said. "Start flipping." He opened it, took his time, first page, second page. His eyes narrowed the further he got. When he hit the student loan line item, he let out a low whistle. "This ain't family help, man," he said, shaking his head. "This is extortion in a casserole dish." I let out a short breath through my nose. "Tell me something I don't know." Clay leaned forward. "So what's the move? Cut them off cold?" "I don't know," I muttered. "If I pull the plug all at once, they'll lose the house. Then I'm the villain. If I taper off, I'm still the bank, just slower." He tapped the table with his knuckle. "Either way, you're bleeding. You want it to stop or scab over." I didn't answer. My phone buzzed. I flipped it over. Facebook notification. Kyle Thompson is engaged to Becca Warren. A family post underneath it. "We're so excited for this celebration. Jake will make the reception perfect." They tagged me. I blinked, didn't even know he'd proposed. That night I scrolled through more posts. Plans for a family reunion, a kitchen remodel at my in-laws' place, some luxury wedding venue, vision board Carrie had shared. All with the same invisible ink beneath the words, "Jake's got it." Something in me snapped clean. I started documenting everything. Full transaction logs, screenshots, bank pulls, call records. I went back 2 years deep. Built a spreadsheet color-coded by theft type. Loans, housing, lifestyle upgrades. Every time one of them asked for a quick favor, I saved it. If someone mentioned a payment or brushed off what I'd done, I wrote it down. Timestamps, names, details. I wasn't just tracking money, I was building a case. A week later, we were at another cookout. Bob's birthday or some other excuse to light a grill and pretend we're a happy unit. I stayed quiet most of the day, watching them move around me like I was a walking ATM with a mouth they were tired of. After dinner, I was standing by the fence when Uncle Ron walked over, beer in hand. He glanced around, then leaned in close. "They've always used you, kid," he said. "You know that, right?" I didn't say anything. Ron sipped his beer. "Maybe time you use your voice, while you still got one." He gave me a nod and walked off. I looked back at the patio. Kyle laughing with Becca, Bob and Linda huddled over remodeling brochures, Carrie smiling like none of this touched her. My folder was in the truck. I'd brought it again, just in case. I parked across the street and sat there for a full minute, engine running. Then I killed the ignition, grabbed the handle, and stepped out. Their porch light was on, curtain already peeled back. They knew I was coming. Inside, the living room looked staged, chairs pulled in a circle like a team meeting, coffee table cleared, bottled water lined up. Kyle sat dead center, arms folded like he was about to negotiate a contract. Bob was to his left, Linda to his right. Carrie sat on the couch beside her mom, face tight, hands clutched in her lap. I walked in and dropped the 3-ring folder on the coffee table with a loud thud. It popped open slightly, pages spilling at the edges. No one moved. "Let's make this real simple," I said, flipping open to the first tab. "Mortgage payments, $21,600. I turned the page. "Student loans under Kyle's name, $14,200. Flip. Mazda lease, $2,900. Flip. Credit cards, luxury crap, steak dinners, $8,400. Their eyes followed the turning pages like they were watching a car crash in slow motion. I paused, let the silence sit heavy. "That's $47,100, I said, looking straight at Kyle. "And not one goddamn thank you." Kyle leaned forward, eyebrows raised like he was the one being ambushed. "I thought you were doing fine." I laughed, sharp, humorless. "I still owe 12 grand on my truck. I skipped 3 fillings last year. You ever skip dental work to buy your sister a suit?" Bob opened his mouth, but I didn't give him the chance. "You all treated it like I was some faceless debit card with a pulse. You didn't ask, you didn't care, you just tapped the account and moved on." Linda waved a hand. "Jake, we assumed you had extra. You never said no." "That's not permission, that's manipulation." Carrie flinched. Then Kyle, still calm, still smug, tried to pivot. "Look, maybe this got out of hand, but it was all meant to help the family." I snapped the folder shut so hard the plastic rings cracked. "No, it helped you. It helped your career, your image, your lifestyle. I was funding your life while mine was on pause." The room went stiff. No one spoke. Then the door opened. The door opened. Uncle Ron stepped in. I'd called him earlier, just in case things got ugly. "Jake asked me to come," he said. "Someone should see this." Kyle's face twisted. "This isn't your business." "Sure it is," Ron replied calmly. "When good people get used like this, it becomes everyone's business." Right then, Kyle's phone buzzed on the table. He picked it up, frowned, then blinked like something hit him sideways. "What?" Bob asked. Kyle hesitated. "Becca just texted. She saw the folder in Jake's hand. Says if Jake's not invited to the engagement party, she's not showing either." Linda's lips parted, eyes darting to me, then to Kyle. "You told her Jake wasn't on the list?" Kyle shrugged. "I figured it was understood." Carrie's head whipped around. "Understood by who?" Silence again. She turned toward the folder, reached for it, flipped a few pages. Her hands shook slightly. She kept flipping, then stopped. She stared at a copy of the bank transfer, Kyle's loan, my name, my account. She didn't say anything, didn't look at me, just sat there, mouth tight, knuckles white around the plastic edge of the page. That silence, that moment, told me everything. She didn't know the full scope, or she hadn't wanted to. Bob cleared his throat. "Let's not let this tear the family apart." "It already did," I said, walking toward the door. "You just didn't notice until I stopped paying for the nails." I didn't wait for a reply. Folder under my arm, I walked out, leaving them with their bottled water and crocodile guilt. 2 days later, they called saying they wanted to make things right. I didn't buy it, but I went anyway. I was back in their kitchen, same chairs, same people, same fake warmth. The only thing different was the tone, quieter, controlled, like they'd rehearsed it. Bob cleared his throat. Jake, we talked, and we want to offer you something fair. I didn't sit. If you keep covering the mortgage, he went on, we'll make sure you're publicly credited. At family events, holidays, people should know the role you've played. Recognition, Linda added, smiling like it was a wedding gift. We'll say it openly. Jake helped keep this family strong. I let the silence stretch long. Then I reached into my folder and pulled out a letter. One sheet, official letterhead. I slid it across the counter. Bob picked it up, eyes skimming. Then his eyebrows shot up. Facilities supervisor, I said. Denver, 82 grand a year, full benefits. Start date in 2 weeks. Linda leaned forward like she'd misheard. You're moving to Denver? I've already packed, I said, flat. Lease signed yesterday. Got a place in Arvada, quiet spot. No debt collectors pretending to be in-laws. Bob scoffed, folding the paper like it offended him. You're walking away from family. No, I said. I'm walking away from leeches. Linda blinked fast. Kyle's big day is coming, Jake. The wedding's around the corner. We need you here. There's nothing, I cut in. You needed me until the cash dried up. Across the room, Carrie sat stiff in the corner, arms crossed. She hadn't said a word since I walked in. I turned to her. You knew I had that offer sitting for a while. She nodded barely. And she looked down at the floor. I didn't think you'd really take it. That hurt more than I expected. You really thought I'd just stay in place? Keep funding the circus while Kyle gets applause and I get silence? I didn't ask for that, she mumbled. No, but you sure didn't stop it. Bob stood up now, voice rising. This is how you handle responsibility? You cut and run? I've been handling your responsibilities for 2 years. Mortgage, bills, loans, image. This family's been built on my back, and none of you noticed until I stood up straight. Linda pressed her lips together, like she wanted to argue but couldn't find the right spin. I looked around one last time. The walls, the tile, the people who used me like a subscription they never planned to cancel. It's time you found another son-in-law to sponsor your lifestyle, I said. I walked toward the door. Carrie didn't follow. I didn't RSVP, didn't call ahead. Just walked in through the side entrance of the event hall in Frisco like I belonged there, because for 2 years, I'd paid enough to feel like I did. The place was decked out in rented class. White tablecloths, gold-rimmed plates, candles flickering in hurricane glasses. Fake elegance with a side of guilt. I spotted him near the buffet, laughing with Becca and a couple guys from the dealership. New suit, Rolex glinting under the chandelier. Folder under one arm, I walked straight toward him. No hesitation. He saw me last second, expression tightening just slightly. Didn't know you were coming, Kyle said, hand halfway to his glass. I know, I said. Then I handed him a square black gift box. Clean, simple, no bow. What's this? He asked. Open it. He popped the lid and looked inside. A USB drive, labeled Kyle's Career, paid in full. My gift to you, I said, loud enough for everyone around to hear. Your career, paid for by me. Now it's yours to carry. The conversation died around us. Becca stepped back a little. Someone dropped a fork. Kyle's fingers twitched. He pulled the drive out like it might burn him. What the hell is this? Every payment I made in your name, I said. PDFs, screenshots, dates, transfers, full breakdown, loans, car, cards. Even your steakhouse tab last Father's Day. A voice cut through the silence. Carrie's cousin Tara, across the table. Is that real? Uncle Ron stood from the far end of the room. He's got receipts, he said calmly. I've seen them. Kyle opened the folder, right there, next to the Caesar salad, and flipped to the first tab. I watched his face drain like someone had pulled the plug. He muttered, Jesus. Bob and Linda were frozen at the main table, eyes locked on the documents. Becca peeked over Kyle's shoulder and covered her mouth. Then, for the first time in what felt like forever, Carrie spoke. I didn't know it was that much. Her voice was barely above a whisper, but it cracked through the air like glass. I turned to her. That's the point. I looked around the room, all the aunts and cousins and coworkers who nodded along while I paid their tab. None of you did, I said, raising the folder slightly. Because I was too damn quiet. That stops now. Kyle swallowed, still staring at the numbers in front of him like they were someone else's debt. You're getting married, I said. Good. Grow up. Handle your life now, because I'm done handling it for you. No one stopped me as I turned and walked out. No thank yous, no apologies, just silence. The kind that finally meant something. Denver hit different. Clean air, no humidity, no one guilt tripping me over dinner rolls. I could breathe out here without wondering who was going to ask for money next. I closed on a small place just outside Arvada. One bedroom, nothing fancy. Clean walls, fresh paint, my name on every bill. No Kyle, no Bob, no Linda, just me. First paycheck came in on a Thursday. I didn't even hesitate. Paid off one of my own loans in full. The feeling, unreal, no IOUs, no waiting, just done. Later that night, Clay called. How's it feel not being their ATM? He asked, chuckling. Lighter, I said, and I meant it. That weight, the quiet, constant pressure of being everyone's backup plan, it was gone. I slept through the night without grinding my teeth. Woke up without dread. A few weeks passed. I was sitting on the balcony with a cold beer when Kyle's name popped up in my inbox. Subject line, thanks. He wrote, I took over the mortgage. It's tight, but I'm managing. I get it now. I didn't before. Then at the end, thanks for giving me time to grow up. Sorry it cost you so much. I read it twice, then forwarded it to myself. Didn't respond, just wanted to keep it. Uncle Ron came out a couple of days later, drove up in his truck, cooler in the back. We drank on the balcony while the sun dipped behind the mountains. You're building a life, Jake, he said, not patching someone else's. I didn't say much, just nodded and took another sip. People still ask about the family sometimes. You still talk to him? They say. I tell the truth. We talk sometimes. I've got boundaries now. Then I go back to my life, built with calloused hands, clear eyes, and no debts I didn't choose.